Is everybody ready to get started? And yes, so as I mentioned, I'm really excited to be here with the lovely Robin Farrell. Rockin' Robin?
Yeah, well, I've never heard that before, Liza. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's like I've never heard there's a hole in my bucket, Liza, right? Yeah. So, and your car that you showed up in today?
I drive a Dodge Challenger. It's a 2010. I highly recommend it.
Oh my gosh.
If you ever have a chance to buy your dream car, buy your dream car. Like, and that's the thing. Liza can help you get to the place where you can afford to buy your dream car. This is why this is a good pairing. All right, because honestly, when I drive that car, I feel like a boss.
You're a
right?
rock star,
Like
man.
yeah. So,
yeah,
and I've had it 10 years. It's not a new car.
Yeah.
But you know, originally when I wanted to purchase it, I thought about buying an older one, a 1970s Challenger, because I'm like, oh, I love the look of the original cars, and I love muscle cars, and I just thought, oh, it'd be so nice to drive this. And then I was like, oh, but I'm so not handy with the cars, right? Like I'm handsy, that's different than being handy. So yeah, this is the thing, is that I ended up buying a newer model that Dodge did the remakes, and I was just like, I saw it on the lot and I was like, I have to have this.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's absolutely
that's how I do everything in my life.
Yeah.
By the way, it's very impulsive, but at the same time, it's very calculated. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So, and you'll find that
your intuition.
I follow my intuition, and it's not always like everything seems to happen all at the same time. And you'll find that out as you get to hear bits and pieces of my story. Oh my God, someone is texting.
Someone's texting us. I'll put it on mute, but we will hear you if you're texting us. So
I hope it's a rated R question.
Yes, it's a rated R question. Yeah. These are warm. Hey, should we? Yeah, maybe.
All right.
Oh, we've still got our beads too. Yeah.
The beads are what's warm. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
So yeah, so Robin turned up in her beautiful car, and she's got her Diet Pepsi, and she's already talking about jumping off of the building into the pool.
Fine.
So yeah,
that's coming at the end.
We're gonna have fun. So
you have to stay till the end, and by the end I mean 10 p.m.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there were a few things that I wanted to tell you a little bit about Robin, and then we're going to get into her story. So, first of all, your talk that you're going to be talking about today. I love myself today.
Yes.
Right.
And it takes a long time to get to that position, I think, and I don't think that that's it's not a thing that you think about on a day-to-day basis. But when you really sit down and look back on your life and think, did I love myself the best that I could through all of this? I would say that, you know, probably the answer is no. I mean, we tend to beat ourselves up more than we praise ourselves, right? So I think getting to a point, and, you know, I'm going to be 46 at the end of July 29th, if you want to send a gift.
July 29th.
Okay,
got that
down. Okay, text that in. All right, July 29th, you win a prize. Yeah, I really think that at this stage in my life, I want to embrace where I'm at. I want to let go of things that, you know, where I thought I should have been, and really just try to believe in myself and believe in the path that I've done to create my own why. And we'll talk about this. I mean, you and I know the importance of knowing what your why is.
Absolutely.
And I think once you realize really why you're here and what your purpose is, then everything else falls into place, and everything that you've done up until that point really makes sense. Right?
Yeah, it's the lessons that you've learned along the way.
Oh, I've learned some lessons, Liza. All right.
So yeah, so that's, you know, going to be a lot of what we're going to talk about. And I wanted to mention, you know, Robin and I we've met a few times now.
We have. I'm stalking you.
We see. I've done a couple stalkers.
Welcome.
So a few times. So we both did the Women's Expo that Virginia Ritchie puts on. So we met there with the Powerhouse group. That was like three or 4 years ago.
Yeah, Sharon Zenjenko. She's like, and that group is wonderful. It's
amazing,
amazing women's networking.
Yeah, absolutely. Powerhouse, absolutely recommend it. They are doing webinars every Wednesday right now called Gather for Her. So those happen on Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. Then the next time we met was at a Powerhouse luncheon out at Brentwood Bay, which was great. And we were speaking and answering questions and having all kinds of fun. And then we did the expo again this year. And I was talking about co-housing, and you and I have started having conversations about co-housing, and you were doing your I Love Myself Today, and yeah, it was fun. And so we just have started talking more recently about, you know, doing more stuff together and connecting. And you've probably seen there's been lots of posts on your Instagram and on our feed about Wren and Robin and all kinds of things. So Rockin' Robin and Wren, isn't there like a little Tweety bird something in there?
I think there's a new song.
There's a theme happening here. And so, yeah, so we decided, you know, it'd be great if we could hear Robin's story, get together. And before we dive into the story, I also just want to talk, you know, really quickly, how is the house hunt going?
Here's the deal, right? And I didn't, again, I want to just revert back to something that I said a few minutes ago, and in case we're just joining us now, everything that I do in my life is risky, but it's also calculated. So every time I make a move in my life, it comes out of nowhere, it hits me, I go with it, and for some way, it ends up working out. So I'm not going to say that it's not all 100% luck, but it is also a calculated risk. So I see a friend of mine who is also a realtor. He posts a little house, a little townhouse. And I've been living in the condo now here in Victoria for 7 years. It's a great condo. I live in a great area. I really like where I live. But I'm like, oh, well, that's a cute townhouse. Can you show me that townhouse, Danny? And he's like, sure, I can show you the townhouse. You can come by and see it. And I'm like, I wonder if I could get a townhouse. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting a townhouse. And so then all of a sudden I'm on this thing with the townhouses, and I'm going to places and I'm looking at townhouses, and I see this house that I love. I fall in love with this house. And everyone said, I'm sure you would also recommend this. Everyone said to me on the house hunt, they're like, don't fall in love with a house. Like, you have to, think about it rationally. Don't fall in love with your heart, because something could happen and it might not work out. I'm like, nah, I love the townhouse. It's got this little yard for Otis. I have a 7-year-old coonhound. So I'm like, oh, yard for Otis. And then it's got this great gazebo outside. Like, I want to sit outside, and it's got all, and they were willing to put the furniture in and include the furniture. I live like a student. Okay, don't tell anyone. All of my stuff at home, like, I mean, it looks nice, but it's not fully matched up and things like that. Cause I'm like, oh, one day I'm going to get this townhouse and I'm going to have all this furniture. So I go and I put an offer in. I'm so excited. Like, this house just went on the market. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write an offer, and I put it in, and I'm so excited. I'm like, okay, now all I have to do is sell my condo. And here's where it comes in.
Yep. That's where the story really starts.
This is where things take a turn. Because I would say probably about 2 weeks after putting the offer in, I get a text from Danny, and he's like, so I need you to give me a call. And I'm like, shoot, it's happening. And I knew it could happen. I mean, we know how it works, right? So it's like, somebody came in, they had an unconditional offer, they sold the townhouse. Okay. So now I continue to be on the townhouse, but it was interesting because when it happened, and I talked about it on the radio, because this is something that happens to everyone, right? Like, this is a relatable situation. So I'm talking about it, and one woman named Sue actually sent me a message, and she was like, hey, Robin, okay, I just want you to know, I'm really sorry about the house. She's like, just so you know, all of my breakups that were not relationships were over real estate.
Oh, how interesting.
She said the worst breakups I've had have been over real estate, trying to make deals and stuff like that. So I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if you have any insight on that. Just because it felt like a heartbreak. Like, in that moment, I was like, have I been dating this house for 1.5 years? Because that's what it feels like. But yet it wasn't even my house. I'm like, why am I so caught up in this? Because at the end of the day, I've never really been about stuff. For me, my whole life is about relationships. I feel like everything in life is about relationships and building relationships and having good communication. The rest is just stuff. And stuff has never really mattered to me that much. And I'm like, why am I suddenly so obsessed about stuff? I don't know. So in that moment, though, it really felt like a heartbreak.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, it was just devastating. I was gutted for like 4 days, and then I moved on.
And then you get over it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. If you're on this call and you stole a townhouse from me, text in.
Oh gosh. So before we go any further, we're just going to do a couple of checks here, because I know there have been a couple of people have just mentioned having some trouble. So if you can pop in the question box, if you can hear us, I can see and hear you. Change the view. I can see part of your dashboard. All right. So let's just have one. We'll do a couple more little cheeky thingies here and see what we can see.
Very high tech over here. Okay.
We're very low tech is what we are.
On it. All right.
Yeah, we're very low tech is actually what we are.
I think you're discrediting yourself here.
Let's just make that bigger. Oh, let's just do one more thing here. We'll do everyone.
She's here, but in listen only mode.
All right, let's just make this bigger one more time. All right, I think that's probably.
Is it on?
It's.
Should we start again?
All right.
Okay, it looks good.
Robin says look, or Lori says looks good. All right, so there we go.
Start again. We'll just start over.
So we were just talking with Robin about her townhouse that she didn't get.
I didn't get it.
So
the search continues. It's okay. The search continues, and yeah, the sale continues. There's been lots of showings, so that's a good sign. But yeah, this is really my first attempt at making a move in real estate. When I bought my condo, it was completely on a private sale. It was through a friend of mine. I had been to her place before, and I had said to her at the time, I'm like, you know, I'm not really looking, but if you ever decide to sell it, and the next year she's like, I'm selling the condo. I'm like, I'm buying the condo, and that's how it happened. So we just did a private deal. But this is my first experience with really how real estate works. And there are some, like, I want to say it's very likened to the rest of my life, which is full of high highs and low lows.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've all got the roller coaster stories with when it comes to real estate. Yeah. So for those of you who are joining us, if you've joined us late, I know there's quite a few people who have just popped on, and thank you for being here. So I'm Liza Rogers, the founder of WREN, and we're here with a lovely, fun Robin Farrell, radio host at Ocean 98.5 FM. And we're going to hear a little bit of Robin's story. We talked a little bit about the whole townhouse disappointment. We talked about your amazing car.
Thank you.
Your Charger that's parked downstairs in the garage right now.
It's a fun car. We'll go for a ride after this is done.
Yes,
okay?
absolutely.
We'll take this and we'll go out in the car. We'll just do a drive around.
We'll go with our boas.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And so we wanted to talk to Robin about her story, and what we really love about your story is, you know, it's so inspiring. We all have stories. I think one of the things that we are noticing is people are starting to become more willing to share their stories.
Absolutely.
There's that, you know, the whole Brene Brown movement to vulnerability. Absolutely. There's on the webinar last night, we talked about the why, right? The Simon Sinek, the whole that goes back to corporate why, but then it's really spilled down into what's your why, what's your purpose? Why do we do the things we do? Many of you who've heard me talk about, I do my why for my mom so that we can travel together and have fun, and she doesn't have to worry about retirement. So we thought it'd be really fun to hear Robin's story and hear about some of the trials and tribulations that you've had. And yeah, because it can be anything. It could be work, it could be life, it could be real estate, as we've talked about. And I've heard Robin's story a couple times, and it's always wonderful to hear people sharing their story. So Robin, tell us a little bit about why you love yourself today.
Well, and like I was saying earlier, Liza, thank you. And I first of all, thanks for having me. And I think that there is something great about really hearing other people's messages and other people's stories, because there is always something that you can take away, and there's always something that's relatable to your own story. And knowing your why is one of those things. And you're going to hear that in my story as well. I'm 46 years old now. My life is probably not at all what I thought it would be like. You know, I'm a 46-year-old radio host, which, you know, there aren't, in the grand scheme of jobs out there aren't a ton of jobs for radio hosts to begin with. And we've seen a lot of fluctuation in the media, I would say, especially over the last 10 to 15 years, right? So this is, you know, it's not a risk-free job by any means, but I mean, I never saw myself, I don't know what I did picture myself to be like at 46.
Did you think you were going to be married with children?
I don't know, was I? I didn't know. And that's the thing, like when I think about things like that, or I think about, you know, a 9-to-5 job where I'm, you know, pushing a punch card and stuff like that, I don't feel like that was ever really in my cards. But I don't know that the life of a radio spinster was also in my cards. I'm not sure. I mean, I love what I do. And I think that's been really a big focus, and it is a big focus of the whole I Love Myself Today project that I've been working on. And I would say it's a project because it's always ongoing. Loving yourself and having self-love. You can't love other people if you don't have the self-love for yourself. It will just never work. So I remember being very young in Ajax, Ontario. That's where I grew up. So I grew up about half an hour east of Toronto. And I remember that music was my first love. And that's what I knew to be true. I knew that there was, anytime you heard a song that took you back to a specific memory, anytime you heard a song and it changed an emotion in you, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I love this.
The soundtrack of your life.
The soundtrack of my life. Yeah. And I remember being in Ajax, Ontario, and, you know, maybe it was a different band for you, but for me, it was Platinum Blonde, and it was Culture Club with Boy George. Okay. And so Duran. And so, you know, you'd have the posters up and you'd be dancing around in your room. And then, you know, I remember listening to the radio growing up and thinking, oh yeah, this is really, you know, this is a really cool thing, you know, to do. But I never thought I would end up working there. I was just like, please stop talking over the song so I can make a mixtape, right?
For those people on the call, do we remember what mixtapes were? I mean, you know,
Mixtape.
we're showing our age now, right? The mixtapes, and yes.
Sorry
yes,
about that. Yeah. No, but
now
it's
we
true,
just
right?
like Spotify and CD and DVD and digital recordings,
And I just
Yeah.
remember thinking, you know, at that time, but you know, what a cool industry to be a part of. Many people throughout my career, and not even my radio career, but even before that, had said, you know, oh, you got a great voice, you should go on the radio. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I went to Lakehead University in Thunder Bay, Ontario. I have an undergraduate degree in camping. Okay, so if you ever want to do serious camping, come with me. And by that, I mean, I also haven't been now in like 10 or 15 years serious camping. So maybe some of my skills are outdated, but I have a degree in that. I also have a master's degree in sports psychology from the
Smart
University of
cookie,
Ottawa, right? So I just, this is not, radio is basically a whole second life for me. So I went through all these things after I finished university. Then I ended up going to just say like, bye, I'm going to go traveling. And I traveled in Australia and New Zealand for a year. And that was super exciting. That was a whole other thing. Again, all of these moves, always risky things, right? Like, who, you know, I would highly recommend it though, if you ever have a chance. Like,
Yes.
travel is one of the things, and I know that you connect on this as well.
Yes.
It's something that brings us joy, right? So there's an inherent joy there, and joy is an intrinsic feeling. It is not something that you can get monetarily. It doesn't come from money. I would love to tell you it does, but it does not.
It's the experiences, right?
Yes.
Like going back to the travel thing, like I spent a year in Australia as well. And it's the experience of learning other cultures, and everything is new, right? Like going into a grocery store is new, getting into your car is new, because everything you're doing is a new adventure.
Absolutely.
So you're firing off new neurons, and you're connecting new brain pathways, and you're meeting new people, and it has nothing to do with the experience, with the money or the time. It's the experiences that you're absorbing up. So
I think it also forces you, and especially if you travel when you're younger. So I was probably maybe early 20s at the time. If you travel when you're younger, it exposes you to different stressors that you wouldn't normally have in a day-to-day life. Like, you know, how do I keep track of my money? Budgeting money is huge, right? When you're young, you're like, oh, I saved up this money. Now I'm going to go to Australia. Now I'm like, oh, I have to make this money last all year. Like, how do I do this? How do I live out of my backpack? Which was really cool at the time. And now you could not pay me to live out of my backpack for me. Okay, so let's just, I really like this hotel room.
Yeah.
So I got back from Australia and New Zealand, and I remember at the time I was working for an outdoor store, kind of like a mountain equipment co-op. It wasn't mountain equipment co-op, but that was in Toronto. And I worked with a guy there, and he was quite a bit older than me. And by that, I mean, maybe only 10 years. I don't really know. I remember thinking, wow, this guy's really old, you know, because at that time, everybody else was older. And so he had said to me, you need to go where you want to live and then find a job there, not the other way around.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I didn't have a ton of interactions with Andrew. I mean, we were sales colleagues and stuff like that on the floor, but that comment stands out to me still to this day in my life. I'm like, you need to go where you want to be and then figure out what you want to do. So that's what I did. I was like, I want to go to Vancouver. So off I go to Vancouver, and I was working at the time at the sports psychology lab. I got a job there at UBC in the sports psych lab. I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm going to do my PhD. This is the rest of my life. Like, I'm going for it. And then I started doing some stand-up and improv work around Vancouver at the same time. I started playing some rooms, and it was, again, high highs, low lows. Like, when you play a comedy room, it's either, you know, everybody's cheering for you and you're having the best day of your life, or it's like you want a hole to open up in the ground and swallow you. You know what I mean? So again, it's that real dichotomy stuff that, I mean, I guess I'm just used to living in that space in my life because I love doing it. And while I was doing that, I met a guy who happened to work on a morning radio show in Vancouver. It was 104.9 at the time. It was XFM, an alternative radio station. And he's like, come be our intern. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Yes. Right? Just say yes to things.
Yes. Yeah. Like you saying yes to this.
Yeah.
Robin.
I'm like, Liza, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just show up.
Yeah. Let's have you on the webinar. Yes.
Yes.
Let's have you as a guest on the mastermind. Yes. I don't know what a mastermind is.
I don't know.
Problem.
I'm in. And I think a lot of it, and when you know something, and it's funny, but anytime something comes up, I always ask myself a very important question. I say, is this a thing? And if it could be a thing, I'm in. Okay, and this could be a thing. So this is a thing. It is a thing now. You've made
This is a thing, honey.
right? Mine has a lot of flying feathers.
I know, right?
I think you
There's
jinxed
gonna be a
mine.
lot. Oh, we're covered in feathers, by the
Fine.
way.
We didn't mean for that part to happen.
Your nose?
Didn't mean for that part to happen. But yeah, I guess and so I fell into radio is basically how that happened. I ended up going and being an intern on the Pepper and Crash show, which was Rob Pepper and Crash Kincaid. I did all the stunty things that, you know, no one else wants to do. That was my job on the show, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it so much that I eventually left my job at UBC on my path to being a doctor. And doctor, I don't mean like a, you know, like a medical doctor. I mean, just like a doctor of sports psychology. But I left that path and I actually pursued radio because I loved it that much. I love the creativity of it. I love that it's completely different every day. I love that it's always surprising, and I love making those surprises. I love surprises, so I love it when people surprise me, and I also love surprising people. So I think that kind of all intertwines there. Rob Pepper, who I worked on that show with, continues to be one of my best mentors to this day. I mean, there are a lot of really great professional broadcasters out there, and I would recommend, if you ever get a chance, just to, you know, like to listen to different stuff. There's a lot of great podcasts out there now too, because a lot of people are doing some really great and really creative stuff. So I joined that show in 2002, and then I never looked back. Like, I've been in radio ever since, and I worked a couple of years at XFM, and then I worked a couple more years down the hall there at Jack in Vancouver, and also at News 1130. I did some sports reporting for them, and then a job opened up here on the island. It was for afternoons. It was for a different radio station than what I'm working at now, and then that grew into, like, 6 months later, I was working on the morning show with another guy, and then, you know, like 11 years later, you know, I basically cemented myself into the community, and we did some great things at that radio station. It rose really quickly to #1 with women, and we were very lucky. We were very involved in the community. We did a lot of stuff with Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. We did a lot of stuff for the food banks at Christmas, so it was really nice. I also got an opportunity during that time to ride the Cups for Cancer tour for the Canadian Cancer Society, and my mother is a breast cancer survivor, so that is really, you know, it hits close to me. I'm very passionate about that cause, so it was nice to be able to have an opportunity to do that as a media rider, because that ride is only open to media, and it was just a really eye-opening experience. And I would say physically, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And
so how many kilometers is it?
A lot. It's 2,100 kilometers over 2 weeks.
Right.
And so you train about 5,000 kilometers over 6 months in order to be able to ride that tour. Like, it is, once you're in, you're in. And then once you get on the tour, like, your body knows what to do. Then you have to deal with the emotional feelings that you feel when you see these children who have cancer. Right. So meeting the families, talking to the children, doing the head shaves, all of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So it was just a real incredible experience, one that definitely stands out in my mind, and it sparked a love of cycling for me. And then I went on to co-found the ALS Cycle of Hope project.
So let's slow down a little bit, because that's a great project that we, you know, and we haven't even got to, like, the failure stuff, right? I mean,
no,
so far
it's about to happen.
So far
it's
like,
about to happen. Yeah, don't you worry, it's coming.
But the founding of the ALS Cycle for Hope.
Yes, it was so my friend Cindy Lister, her dad passed away from ALS probably just a year after. I think it was in 2011, so a year after I had ridden that tour. And at the time, I remember thinking, she had said to me, you know, Robin, I want to do a ride to remember my dad, because we had met through cycling. And I said, oh, well, like, I'll go with you. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna ride to Edmonton. I'm like, really? Can we just do like a small ride? So we ended up actually creating the project out of that. So it was a 500-kilometer cycling tour. It actually happened in the Okanagan, but we did a lot of fundraising and a lot of small community local rides here on the island as well. It ran for 5 years. We raised over $250,000. It was a very successful project. And we actually funded a scholarship for a young woman, a graduate student, who was working on finding a cure.
Fantastic.
So it was a really, really fulfilling project. It's probably the time where I realized what my why is, which is a combination of bringing joy to the people, which is what I get to do every day with my work, and also doing really rewarding community projects. So
Fantastic.
this is when I am at my best and at my peak. This is what I know is true for me. So it was a very great project. We were nominated for a National Philanthropy Award in 2016 for that project. So it was just a really a really nice thing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It really is fantastic.
It was a big
Yeah.
thing to be a part of.
And it hits on another point there, and it's one of the conversations that we have with women, and especially what we're talking about in the mastermind, is you can do a lot more with money when you have some.
Yes.
Right? And you don't have to be the person that necessarily has it, because there's other resources that you can use. Being resourceful, like being resourceful means sometimes you can get access to resources. So, you know,
and I think especially, and especially in that project, like in that project specifically, we had to outsource a lot of things because we and Cindy and I, and this is the whole thing. And I think probably if you've ever listened to me on the radio, if you're listening to this talk right now, that the thing that I think I do offer people is that I'm just real about things. Whatever experience I'm having, I'm going to share it with you. If it's awesome, that's great. If it sucks, that's great too. You know what I mean? It's a vulnerability. And as you had talked about earlier, of just allowing yourself to just feel and be like that with other people.
Right.
And sometimes you know them and sometimes you don't know them. But Cindy and I would literally go in to have meetings with sponsors, and we'd be like, okay, well, so we're not really sure about what we're doing here, but we'd like to do this. And we were wondering if you could help us with this, right? It's knowing how to ask the right people and using their expertise as well, not just the money, but actually having expertise in those areas. And I think that's exactly what you're doing. With this
and again, another big point, right? Asking, like so many people are afraid of rejection, especially that they just don't ask. And especially women. What's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? Somebody's going to say no, and you're going to move on to the next person. And that's something that we talk about a lot, especially women, as you say, asking for what we want, asking for what we need, asking for what we deserve. The whole wealth thing is, there's so many women who feel like they have to apologize for being wealthy. And one of the things we're trying to teach women is you can do a hell of a lot more when you've got wealth, and we're looking at it holistically, your wealth, your health. You can do so much more when you've got good health and good wealth. And that wealth doesn't necessarily have to all come from you. It can come from your connections. It can come from your collaborations. It can come from the circle that you gather with and you do something together as a community. So these are all the things that we're talking about.
Can I borrow $50?
Yeah. Yes, you can.
But it's true though, right? And I think especially, like we had said, especially for women, I think it's sometimes hard because we're used to being the nurturers. We're used to saying yes. We're used to helping other people. But I think probably one of the boldest things that you can do for yourself is actually to go out and ask other people for help, and really know exactly in your mind what you're looking for. It might take you a few people, like that person might have to make a referral to somebody else, you know what I mean? But to really just nail down what it is that you need and to find the right people to help you with that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to just go through some of the comments here, because I can see now my little question box is working. So let's just give Robin a chance to catch her breath. She's gonna have a bit of Pepsi, so she's doing her sponsor endorsement.
I'm curious to know like what other people's like comfort food things are, because I feel like for me, Diet Pepsi and Hawkins cheesies are those items.
Oh, those
right?
are,
and I don't know why. I don't see any cheesies here, but that's probably for the best.
Yeah, no, I didn't get cheesies. I didn't.
Placement.
There was no rider on about your cheesies. Yeah, I didn't get that.
I guess I sent it to someone else. Which is funny.
So let's see. So Lori says, "Hey, ladies, you look fabulous." Susan says, "Hello from sunny Surrey." Barbara says, "Hello from Fairfield." Christina from Orlando, Florida. Hey, Christina, how is it in Florida? Yeah, we're like kitty corner, like
we're going international on this one.
She's in Florida.
Also, I love that you've got a measuring tool now.
Or are we voguing now? We were singing Elton John earlier. We're not having any fun at all.
No.
We haven't even been drinking. So yes, so hello from Florida. Yes, we are receiving. What just happened to the screen? Oh shit, I don't know what happened to the screen, but I think that was a while ago.
That was a while ago. Never mind. Pretend that part didn't happen.
Love the boas, yes. Yes, we're covered in feathers.
I really am, and I'm wearing white pants, so I don't know how this is going to go after.
Yeah, and we're going for dinner afterwards. So we're going to be leaving a trail of purple everywhere we go.
So glad.
So yes, if you have any questions or comments, pop them in that little question box, because yes, we can see it now. We were having a few little issues. We were talking right at the beginning, for those of you who might have come on late, you know, you're seeing not the best of technology because we're in the—
What do you mean? There's a fridge here. That is the best of technology.
The banner?
The banner's there, and behind it is a microwave.
We were talking about how we had all this great gear set up. We had like new microphones, and we've got our light here.
That is legit.
And we've got, you know, little microphones, and we've got that giant microphone. And
I'll tell you right now, if the lockdown goes down again, there's nowhere I'd rather be.
Yeah.
I've got a light, I've got a microphone, I'm good to go.
You've got Pepsi.
I've got Pepsi, I don't need anything else.
So yeah, so you know, technology is always fun, and trying to make it work and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, so we were a little shadowed because we've made do with the light, but it's all good.
No,
So this is part of it, right? It's the whole resilience, go with the flow, make the most of it, just get it going.
Well, I think you have to, and especially because the more you can do that when things are good, the better you will be to cope when things go sideways.
Yes.
Right? Like, and that's the thing. I've always been open about this, and I again, I want to preface this by saying that I've never been afraid of change. Okay, so change is something that I welcome on a regular basis, because I get bored. Even like, if you've followed me for any point in my career, I think I've changed hairstyles 17 times. Okay, so just like,
It looks really good.
Thank you. It looks like Elton John. Let's be real. It's like a boy band, right? But I like it. Yeah, I have an excellent hairdresser, and he does a great job. So thank you. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think if you're afraid of change, then you'll never grow, right? So you have to be open and honest about that. I don't have a risk-free job. Radio is not for everyone. Media is not for everyone, because there is always the chance that one day they're going to walk you into a room and say, we just don't need you anymore. And it is crushing. It is awful. And when it happens to you at 42 and you don't see it coming, it is devastating. So you know,
that's what happened.
and that's what happened. So when I was 42, and I've been in broadcasting at that point, I guess about 14 years. And I had been working for a radio station at that time for 11 years. Like, I had a long-standing run with a particular station, which actually is also a really good long-standing career for being at any radio station, by the way. So and I loved my job, and I had booked a trip to Haida Gwaii. Highly recommend it, by the way. If you haven't been, definitely go to Haida Gwaii when you have a chance and check it out. It's our last pristine wilderness here in BC. It's beautiful. So I had booked this trip a year in advance, and finally, you know, it was time to go. We went in August of 2016 with a friend of mine who was from there. Went for 3 weeks, came back, was back at work for a couple of days, and then sure enough, just, you know, was told basically that the radio station was going in a different direction, and that direction did not include me, and that would be my last day. And so just like that. And that's how it happens. And I mean, they don't owe you any more than that. Really, at the end of the day, nobody owes you anything else. But after 11 years, you're really hoping for something else. But you know, that's on me to deal with those emotions. At the same time, I think when you don't really understand why it necessarily happens to you, then you're also left with these residual feelings that are really hard to get over. It's like the worst of the breakups. It's like grieving a death, and that was kind of what that process was like for me. I was lucky. I got hired in Kelowna about 3 months later, so I ended up renting out the condo that I own here in Victoria, and to a really nice couple. And I went to Kelowna for 10 months. I was only there 10 months, and then I got a job offer to come back to Ocean.
And so you must have been so excited.
I was very excited. At the same time, I was surprised, because I didn't know. I was like, will I go there? Will I love it? Will I not want to come back? I'll be honest, working in Kelowna was like a vacation. It felt like a vacation, even though I was there. And I think maybe that's how I knew too, that I was supposed to come back when it happened, because it felt the whole time, even when I was working, like I was still on a vacation. So I'm like, okay, now it's time to go back to work. So I'm really lucky though that I get to be back here, because honestly, when it happens in the media, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to work again in the same market. Mm-hmm. So for whatever reason, and again, I believe that this reason is that I'm here to bring joy to the people, mm-hmm. even if that just means showing up and saying things, then that's my why. Like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm supposed to be doing it here.
And you're great at it, and you love it.
I love it.
There were a couple of other things that you pointed out there that I know we've been talking about: taking risk, yes. and change, yes. Changing your hairstyle, and uncertainty. So we've been talking a lot, especially during this COVID thing, because there's so much uncertainty.
Yes.
And when I was talking with Lynn Sumita, who's going to be on our mastermind about uncertainty, and we did a webinar like you and I are doing right now. And I came to the understanding through the conversation we were having that my greatest gifts in my life came at the times of the most uncertainty. So it was really interesting that, you know, sometimes you look at things that are happening in your life and in your world and around you. And, you know, right now with COVID, and one of the conversations that we've been having a lot is people are saying, oh, don't mention opportunities. And it's like, yeah, but we always have to be okay with looking at opportunities, because some of the best inventions, some of the biggest changes, some of the, you know, the voting rights for women, for example, you know, some of those come out of times of most uncertainty. And so it's much healthier to learn how to embrace uncertainty. So Lynn and I did an interview, and we unpacked a little bit about why I'm so good with uncertainty, and it was just fascinating. So you and I are very similar. Love to travel, don't mind taking the risk. We won't do any projects unsupervised, I promise. Can you imagine if
you are the only person supervising me?
Me.
So the front desk of this hotel. You just don't know it.
So we won't do anything unsupervised. If you get involved with anything we do, we promise there will be someone there who's
there'll be an adult.
Be an adult in the room. Yes. So there we go. Cool. Well, it's great, Robin. So you know, you fall. You fall, you get back up, you get back up, you get back up.
And I think the key to getting back up too is moving forward.
Yeah.
So you can fall and you can get stuck in a pattern where you get bitter and not better, or you can keep moving forward, right? You have to go towards the doors that are open, not get stuck banging on doors that, you know what I mean? Like reliving those times and those patterns. I mean, it's all important to shape who you are, but I think also just really moving forward and knowing that, you know, maybe your story isn't the way that you thought it was going to be, but you can be comfortable and you can be happy. Don't let that ruin what you were meant to be. You know what I mean? Like that's like, just grow into what you're supposed to be. And I think once you can embrace that, when something bad happens, yeah, there's a lot of little things that have to happen. Like you have to move your stuff back and forth to Kelowna 3 times in a year. I don't know. I'm not suggesting anything specific, but you know, I think that at the same time, like I'm in a much better place now. I'm much happier. You know what I mean? Like I just think that and a lot of that comes from doing the work, putting the work in. And you know, you and I both know that another person that you and I both know that we've come in contact with together in the past is Renu Bawa, who's a clinical counselor here in town. She's my personal therapist. Having somebody that is outside that can give you an objective opinion. Absolutely. Because it's great to have friends and family. They're always going to be on your side, and you absolutely 100% need that support. But I'll be honest with you, working with Renu over the last couple of years has given me a whole different shift for my mindset. I used it just there. So that I've been able to really see, you know, the brightness in my life and the great things that I've accomplished and what I will continue to go on to do. So I think that's really key. And for me, because I believe my why is to bring joy to others, finding joy in my own life was really important, you know, whether that's through, you know, hiking with my dog every day, because every day I'm with him in nature, or, you know, or traveling, or through my friends and my family and things like that. And through other projects, my friend Cindy and I, that we did the Cycle of Hope project together. We also started another project about a year ago. It's not going anymore because of COVID, but we started the Thelma and Therese Joy Project. And we do have our own Facebook page. It's basically the two of us dressed up as inflatable dinosaurs.
I've seen it. It's brilliant.
Around town.
So fun.
It's so funny. We did it only just to see the reactions in people's faces. People loved it. They wanted to take photos with us. Like they're big blow up dino suits. Like they're really funny. You've seen all of the T-Rex blow up outfits before. That's basically what they are. And we go around town and we just show up at places and we just see the reaction that people have. And that project was sparked clearly out of joy. There was no fundraising for anything involved. There was nothing attached to that. We were just like, we got these suits, let's wear them.
That's fantastic. So, yeah. If you haven't looked at the Facebook page.
Yeah, so the Adventures of Thelma and Therese is
Therese. Yes. Thelma and Therese. So yes.
Therese is French. Cindy's French.
We'll post it in the Facebook page,
and then
so
you'll
be see it, because
even more alarmed.
It's awesome. It's really good, you know. So a big part, a big part of what we've been talking about, right? Mindset. We've been talking about uncertainty. We've been talking about change and challenges and how, being resilient. It's okay to fall down. I think a really good point too about having a counselor or a mentor or coach that you can talk to, because yes, friends and family are great, but how, and we're talking about being more vulnerable. We're talking about, we don't always have to be, oh, I'm great, I'm strong and independent woman, I can do everything on my own. We have to embrace some vulnerability, but sometimes it's good to embrace that with someone who's professionally capable of handling it.
Absolutely.
Too, right?
Absolutely.
Because our friends and family can only go so far. Whereas when you're speaking to someone whose job it is to help you navigate this, you're generally going to get better results, right? Like, how many times have I taken the advice of my mom or the advice of some friends, and it's like maybe hasn't quite worked out, but when you've got a coach or a mentor or a counselor who's equipped in that field to deal with things, it sets you up for so much more success.
And that's the thing, like, it's okay if you fall down and lose your spark. Just make sure that when you get back up, you rise like the whole damn fire, right? Like you want to come back stronger. And that's, I think, when you meet all of these women that are going to be part of the mastermind workshops, you're going to see that. You're going to see women that have a story to share and then have come back from that and have come back the strongest that they've ever been. Yeah. And so I think that, like, when I look at the list of the presenters that are coming up, that's what I think of when I think of those women. Yeah. So I think it's just, it's empowering that way. I think, making sure that you can find some ways to find the joy that is in your life, because we get really caught up in thinking about, how many ducks aren't in a row. Like, we're always like, okay, this isn't working, or, whatever. For me, a big piece of my life, like, I don't really want to be 46 and single forever. I mean, I won't. Eventually I'll be 47 and then I'll be 48. You know what I mean? And I always think to myself, for me, that's always a piece of my life where I'm like, what? Like, other people can have a job in a relationship, like, in my way. But, I mean, it will come when it's supposed to. And the reality is I'm complete on my own. It would be great to have somebody to compliment me. If you know anyone that's single.
We're both looking.
Oh, if you know two men that are single.
There's got to be two awesome men out there who can take these.
Two men. Text Liza.
Double date.
Right?
Oh my God.
It's fine. We would be funny.
Oh yeah.
We would wear these. They would like us. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but I'm
running for the hills.
I think really knowing that, there are other people in your life and you want them to compliment you, but you are complete on your own. And I think that, the more you can embrace that and really feel that confidence in yourself, the more it just spills out into other things that you do. Right?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Very cool. So if anybody has any questions, pop them in that question box. So if you're not quite sure about the question box, you should see a little orange arrow up in the corner, and you'll see chat or question. I see somebody looks like they're getting a glass of wine. We need to be adults. Let's see, what does this say? Every crisis is a time of real opportunity. True. Yes, I can't remember who said that either, Susan, but yes, it's a really important way to look at things, because during COVID, I can't tell you how many times I've said, this is the time to get together, reset, right? Yes. Get stuff done, right? Like you've been talking about the mastermind. We've got a lawyer coming on, so you can get your will done. You can get your
get it done. You need that done. You need a will.
Yeah, like get it done now. Yeah. Get your budgeting done. Get your goals set. Like I've actually got mine right here. I show this sometimes because I'm a traveler. I did my goals on the map.
That's brilliant.
I know,
and
right?
it's a real map.
It's a real map. And it's actually, you love this. It's the upside down world map.
That's even more confusing.
As Australia.
So that is confusing, but good. Yeah.
So I wrote all my goals on the back, and I just carry this around with me. And so it's so important to get those things done. And sometimes it's hard to do them on your own. So we're doing them together in the mastermind. So let's check our time here. It is 4:46. An hour goes by really quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're just going to look through the comments and the questions. Feel free to pop them in there. Sometimes it just takes a couple minutes to come up. So
where is your next travel one that you want to do?
Well, we were supposed to go to Mexico on a family trip.
Yes.
And as you know, I'm looking at property in Mexico. So there's an amazing 14 room. Actually, it's a 14 suite house in Mexico. So each it's like a duplex, but it's a very large duplex, and there's actually 14 suites, like full kitchens, full bathrooms. It's in Nueva Vallarta, and it's listed at like 1.6 million. So, you know, a group of us can buy, it's the BFF.
Can I borrow $1.6 million?
It's the BFF mansion that we're going to. Yes, Elisa says co-housing in Mexico. And I love Robin's energy. Yes,
Oh,
doesn't she have
thank
great
you.
energy? Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, so probably Mexico because I've got a family trip booked, and then we just booked something for Hawaii for next February because my mom.
It's hard to book right now too, right? Like, and you know, like we've had conversations about this because I'm actually part of a really cool women's group that is
Right,
your Paris.
Your Paris trip.
So the Paris trip got bumped. It was funny because back in January, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I don't, you know, I don't have any trips planned this year. I don't really know what to do. And then ping, when that's the sound that it makes when somebody messages you. So, and it's a woman named Chelsea Smith. She's here in Victoria. She runs Vintage Chic Photography. She's going to be coming.
She's doing my photos on Saturday. Yeah.
And so, she's a brilliant photographer, and she pings me, ping, and she says, no one says ping anymore, by the way. That's very 1980s. Okay, so Chelsea says, you know, hey, I'm putting together this really cool women's experience package to go to Paris, and you know, it's going to be 7 days. We're going to do all kinds of photography, like great photo shoots, and there's going to be these 6-course dinners, and you know, burlesque show and stuff like this. She's like, would you want to come? And I'm like, once again, I'm like, go back to my question that I always ask, is this a thing? And then I'm like, this might be a thing. So I immediately, and I don't see myself that way. That's the thing. I don't see myself as glamorous. I don't see myself like I'm a class clown.
She's gorgeous. Yeah.
So I just see myself like, here I am. And I don't know, like I'm usually at the gym and I'm wearing track pants. So I messaged her back and I'm like, sure, I'd love to go. But I said, you know, I just don't feel like I'm much of a model. And then she's like, oh, well, you know, come and let's do a photo shoot. And then all of a sudden, poof, I'm a model. And when you come to the mastermind part, well, maybe can we get some of those pictures and stuff like that? And we'll show you some of the photos because honestly, and she was like, I have to show you these in person. And I was like, oh, can't you just send them? Like, we have all this technology now.
She wanted the reaction?
Wanted the reaction.
Right.
And I cried when I saw the photos. I cried. And
Mm-hmm.
we did the reveal on the radio live. And I was just like, and AJ's like seeing these photos of me too. And like, I'm crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do. So it was really neat though, just because I don't, you know, again, we don't always see ourselves in the way that other people see them. And that's what she said to me. She's like, well, I see you this way. And I was like, what are you talking about? So it was just a really, really neat experience. And we ended up, after doing that photo shoot, we got 10 women together. We were all supposed to go to Paris in October, but we've had to postpone that until next year as well. I mean, it is, you know, it is what it is. Everyone's going to do that.
And that's still going to be a great trip. And the thing is I think there will be probably more than one, because I know that you reached out to me and I said, oh yeah, I think we could probably get a group of women together who might want to go to Paris for, you know.
There might be other destinations coming up. Like this was going to be the first trip of its kind, and fully organized on this end, and then everything's fully booked for you on the other end. I mean, it's a really cool experience package. So I think, you know, taking advantage of stuff.
So who wants to go to Paris or Italy or Portugal or Mexico when everything opens up? We'll be doing some more traveling. Yes, we'll take our feather boas and our giant sunglasses with us.
Elton John will be proud.
Elton John will be proud. So we've got some good. Oh yeah, we've got comments, and I'm not sure if everybody saw us when we first, but this was how we started our show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you get this? Are these yours?
Yes, they're mine.
They're prescription.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's why I can't see anything. Okay.
So yes, so we haven't had any fun here at all today. So it's, yes, awesome glasses, right? So it's great to have Robin here, and it's great to have you on the mastermind.
Thank you.
You know,
I'm very excited.
We started the mastermind yesterday, and we had our we introduced a lot of our speakers who were available. We introduced, you know, the participants who were taking place, and Esther and Elisa facilitated some breakout rooms, and we talked about why, and we talked about, you know, we went 7 levels deep on the why. So we really, you know, we're getting to the bottom of it. And Carrie Dillon was there, and she talked about
incredible, like her story is.
Yeah. We talked about unpacking the tools in your toolbox. So we're going to be having some great conversation. So we will probably start to wrap up. If anybody's got any comments or questions, or if you've got some questions for Robin, please feel free to throw those in the question box. I've got it open, and we can see it. We can see the comments. Yes, Paris, is this a thing? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, it's a thing, right? I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
It's definitely a thing. Yeah.
And again,
just like saying yes to things, right? Like again, that's something that I said yes to. Now I've said yes to 2 things this year. with 2 women. Okay, that's huge.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Now we just have to find a man who's willing, who you can say yes to.
Once again, my personal phone number is.
Oh, how does Robin deal with disappointment?
Oh, not well.
Oh. Great question.
Great question. Not well. I think disappointment is like, it's that feeling of like it physically changes you. So there's like a sinking in your chest. There is a tightening in the pit of your stomach when you are disappointed. I think probably disappointment for me is one of the hardest things to get past. Like you can be angry in a second and then be completely diffused in the next second. But when you're genuinely disappointed in somebody or something, it's harder. And it's hard to hear those words from somebody like,
yes, I'm
oh,
disappointed,
I'm really
in
disappointed.
you.
And then I'm like, oh. So I think when you're dealing with disappointment, the best way is just to own it. So if you are the person that's doing the disappointing, you have to own it and explain your why, which is just as valid. You know what I mean? Like you may not realize that that's happened. I think for the disappointment that I've had, like in losing my job and things like that, I've had to do a ton of work. Like that's been a ton of work for me. And I want to be completely honest about that. It's been 2 years of sitting in counseling and making sure that I could generate ways in my brain that I could actually say to myself, you know what, this does not devalue what you've put into your career. Like you will work again. And sure enough, I did. So, right away. But I mean, there's always in those times of uncertainty where you just feel like, how do I get rid of this feeling? How do I wake up every day and move forward? And I think really just, again, making sure that you believe in yourself. Keeping a journal, I think, is key as well. Really getting thoughts and things out on paper, right? And really dissecting them and making sure that you're being as kind to yourself as you would be to a friend who is in the same situation. Gratitude is huge.
Appreciation. Yeah, those are big things. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like our lighting just got a lot
Yeah.
better.
Oh my goodness. The sun just shifted. We'll have to start again.
Start again. I hope that answered your question.
It was a cloud. Now it's gotten funny again. So.
I hope that answers your question. But yeah, I think really sitting with feelings of disappointment is important, but also, like I said, being able to find ways to move through them, whether that's getting a therapist. I mean, for me, that was very crucial and very important to that. Whether that's, again, doing some journaling, finding some books. I highly recommend You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. She's a fabulous author. If you ever feel like you're not a badass, read that book and you will feel 100% better. So there are some really great self-help techniques out there.
Yeah.
Too,
yeah. You're a badass. You're a badass.
U''RE, a badass by Jen Sincero is her name. She's got a few books out, but that one has been super popular because it just reaffirms your own intuition about yourself and knowing that what you're doing and where you are is on the right path and where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. And we're talking about intuition next week with Barbara Eady.
Perfect. I will be there.
Yeah, author and coach, and she's right here in Victoria. So yeah, and I think Barbara's on the call today.
I think she is too. Yes. I think I saw her entrance.
So yeah, so lots to look forward to. And there was another question here. Yeah, you're a badass. Happy faces, which we love. Are you going to put another offer in on the townhouse? So I think
I know. I'm not. You know what?
You're going to look at some properties.
Yeah, I am, and I'm actually going on Friday to see some more. I went last weekend, so last Friday, I guess, before I went away up island for a few days. But before that, we went to look at a few, and that was my first experience seeing anything after the breakup from the first townhouse. Not that we ever want to speak of that again, so we won't, but we probably will.
Yeah, we will.
And so then I went to see a few last week, and I feel like that actually helped me get over it, right? It's like when you break up with somebody and then you start dating somebody else right away, and you're like, this is the best thing ever. That's what it felt like. Okay, again, it feels very similar to those relationship breakups. I'm gonna go see a few more on Friday, so I'm still actively looking, I would say. And when the condo sells, that's when I will make another offer, because I just feel like I want to really avoid feeling that emotion that I felt the first time, and that was a mistake. And people told me that it would be a mistake, and it was. So also listen to what other people say.
And so Robin's condo is for sale. So
if anyone needs a condo, I've got one.
Yes, she's got a lovely condo for sale. And it's on your.
It's
Facebook
it's on my
page.
Facebook page.
Yeah,
It's on
it's up there.
MLS. It's Danny Bales is my real estate agent. Feel free to go to his page and check it out. Yeah, it's a great space. It's beautiful. But yeah, I just think, you know, at this stage in my life too, I just want to see if I can do it. Like, again, this is another thing. I'm like, well, you know, I don't want to do everything on my own, but you know, I will if I have to. And you know, I'm used to having all the jobs be my jobs, so I'll figure it out and I'll make it happen. And I thought it would be really neat at this stage, like, especially I have a dog, he's 7 now. It'd be nice to have a little bit of a yard. Not that he doesn't know any different, let's be real. Otis is like, you know, he's happy to be wherever I am, but I just think it would be really neat for me to know that I could buy a house on my own. And to know that, and to feel confident and be able to do that, I think as a woman too is huge, right? Like, this is, again, we're talking about, you know, having your own wealth and having your own money and being able to do things independently. And I think that is such a coup, you know, to be able to do that kind of thing. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to talk to Robin about some of the properties that we've been looking at too. Like,
I need to borrow $1 million. So, and then yes, I'm in.
Yeah. So there we go. So I think we're probably just about 4:58. So we talked for over an hour because we actually jumped on and did some testing and started early. And
I hope it wasn't boring. Okay.
No, I think there's lots of comments.
People are like, we've already left.
There's lots of great comments in there. So you'll see Robin again towards the end of the mastermind series. We've got lots of great guests coming up. If you're interested, just message us at info@WREN.club. That's info@WREN.CLUB. And we're doing that Tuesdays 4 p.m. for the next 6 weeks. And we kicked it off yesterday, and it was fun, and we've got some great speakers coming up, so it's going to be really great. So Robin, we're going to jump in your car and we're going to go and
we're having dinner.
We're going to go have dinner.
Yeah, we're going to 10 acres, so just come there. I don't know.
There we go.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. You might need a reservation. I don't know. The COVID thing has changed things.
Six people at a table.
Yeah,
so first 5 people.
First 5 people, you're there.
No,
okay.
We're 2.
Oh,
so yeah.
Good.
There you go.
Elton John and Liza are leaving the building.
So thanks us. We hope that you've enjoyed our I love myself today, because I think there's no doubt that we do love ourselves, and it's really important to be okay with that. And as women, you got to put yourselves first, and you got to love yourself, and you got to have fun.
Absolutely.
We don't know how to have fun.
No,
so
not at all.
There we go. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a wonderful day. And yes, Italy, Portugal. Yes, we're in.
See?
We're in.
See?
All of these things. Yes, Portugal.
It's because it's a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All good. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to say yes. Don't forget to take the opportunities. Don't forget to have fun. And don't forget that Liza has no idea what she's doing.
We can't get out. We actually can't leave. So that's why this is actually going on longer than. Okay.
Oh, there we go. End webinar for all. Bye.